Today's episode is sponsored by Audible. One of the questions I get asked a lot by viewers is how I do my research for videos. In terms of Breath of the Wild theories, it's important to look at not only the main story, but the information hidden within character dialogue and journal entries. The narrative of Breath of the Wild is much bigger than most realize, and that's thanks to these extra tidbits of information scattered throughout the world, such as the attack of Akala Citadel and Dorian, a Yiga clan defector. Point is, there's a lot of incredible stories out there which go unnoticed, and a part of that is because many people are too busy to sit down and read. That's where Audible comes in, because right now you can go to the link in the description, audible.com/NintendoBC, and start listening with a free 30-day trial. Audible features an unmatched selection of audiobooks to listen to, and each month you'll get 1 credit to spend on any audiobook regardless of its price. Even if you cancel your membership, the audiobooks you already purchased will stay with you forever. As someone who frequently listens to creepypastas when gathering footage for videos, one of the titles I purchased was Misery by Stephen King, a story about a famous author who got in a car crash and was saved by his #1 fan, essentially becoming a hostage. And since I'm all about mysteries when it comes to making Zelda content, I also picked up the Sherlock Holmes Definitive Collection, which I'm currently listening to. We're talking over 70 hours of content, and it only cost a single credit. So thanks again to Audible for sponsoring this video, and if you want to start your free trial, just go to the link in the description and sign up. That's audible.com/NINTENDOBC, or you can text NintendoBC to 500 500. While the Sheikah are closely tied to the history of Hyrule and that of the royal family, most Zelda games give us a look into their past without seeing much of the tribe itself. The Shadow Temple, for example, was a place used by the Sheikah to interrogate and torture any who were considered enemies of the royal family, and by the time of Ocarina of Time, all but one of the tribe has vanished, the lone survivor being Impa. Breath of the Wild was the first Zelda game to give this group a major appearance, with both the Sheikah of Kakariko Village and the Yiga, a group who swore allegiance to Ganon after their banishment. And even more of this tribe's history would be revealed with the introduction of a new character in the second DLC pack, the Champion's Ballad. While the overall feedback of the DLC was mixed, there was one part most people loved, and that was the secret boss, Monk Maz Koshia. This bit of DLC was not shown within the trailer, and that made it all the more surprising, especially in a game which is often criticized for a lack of good bosses. Yet the Champion's Ballad gave us what may be one of the best fights within the series as a whole. After completing the one-hit obliterator trial on the Great Plateau and taking on the challenges of each champion, Link is faced with one final mission, the Divine Beast Tamers trial. Directly beneath the plateau lay a labyrinth littered with different puzzles, each representing a different element. Once all terminals are activated, the door to the main chamber opens. There, Link is faced with a final challenge, a battle with the keeper of the trials, Monk Maz Koshia. The wide variety of attacks used makes this fight both challenging and enjoyable. The fact that Maz Koshia plays such a huge role in the DLC, something that makes him stand out compared to your typical Sheikah monk, is more than enough of a reason to talk about him. And honestly, this is one of those topics I've held off on discussing for the longest time. So in today's episode, we'll look at the mysteries of the Sheikah warrior and how it relates to other parts of the game, as well as briefly look at the Champion's Ballad as a whole. Most of the information surrounding Maz Koshia comes from his battle with the Hero of the Wild. The fight with him consists of 3 different stages. In the beginning, he attacks the hero with a Guardian Sword ++, and can shoot at Link from the air, whether it be fire, ice, or shock arrows. In his second phase, he'll split himself into several copies which can attack Link. Monk Maz Koshia will only take damage if the real copy is struck, and this will continue until the boss's health is reduced to half. He spends the rest of the fight in an enlarged form, and his moveset completely changes. From summoning metallic spiky balls, following up with a lightning attack, even firing lasers at Link, very similar to the Guardians. In other words, Monk Maz Koshia has some abilities which come from the technology built by the Sheikah. Not only that, but other moves such as his teleportation, charge attack, and manipulation of the ground draw parallels to another group of people. The Yiga clan. Sheikah who refused to comply with the demands of the royal family and pledged allegiance to Calamity Ganon. The foot soldiers can both teleport and charge at the hero in battle, while the Blade Masters have an attack similar to that of Maz Koshia. As a matter of fact, last November I uploaded a video where we translated all of the Sheikah script found within Breath of the Wild. While working on this theory, I noticed a mistake in that episode where I state that the floor engravings translated to the following. This translation does exist, but it's not for the characters on the ground. Instead, this combination of letters appears before some of the attacks of both Maz Koshia and the Yiga. The Kujin, also known as the Nine Hand Seals. A system of mudras and associated mantras that consists of 9 syllables. These syllables are Rin, Pyo, To, Sha, Kai, Jin, Retsu, Zai, and Zen. I won't spend much time on this as I'm not an expert, but if you want to know more about these, then make sure to check out Zeltic's video on the Yiga and Sheikah's combat. This video in particular will focus more on Maz Koshia. If the 9 hand seals appear before the attacks of both the Yiga and Sheikah, their abilities must come from a similar source. In addition, the talisman which appear whenever the Yiga teleport are also present in Maz Koshia's fight. But this correlation between the two makes sense when you really think about it. The Yiga are essentially turncoat Sheikah. However, the connections between Koshia and the Yiga clan go much deeper than you'd think. Both Koga and Maz Koshia have the ability to summon metallic spiky balls, but more importantly, there's an Easter egg within his battle with Link. If he drops a mighty banana in the middle of the fight, the Sheikah will be distracted by it and temporarily vulnerable to attack. And this should look familiar. The Yiga Blade Masters can also be distracted this way, given their love for mighty bananas. The same can't be said with present-day Sheikah, especially since Kakariko Village is a good source for both swift carrots and fortified pumpkins, but no mighty bananas. At first, one might suggest that Maz Koshia is closely associated with the Yiga, or even a part of the group. Obviously, that's not the case given his role in the game, but we get some interesting information from an interview. Fujibayashi was asked why the Yiga clan loved bananas, to which he responded with, "As mentioned in the main story, the Yiga clan used to be members of the Sheikah tribe, and between you and me, the Sheikah tribe apparently liked bananas 10,000 years ago. While the Yiga clan is known for loving bananas, this trait originated with the Sheikah 10,000 years ago. Therefore, it makes sense for Maz Koshia to be distracted by this fruit in battle. But if this is true, why is there no correlation between mighty bananas and the Sheikah in the present day? The benefit from eating mighty bananas comes from their increase in attack power when cooked. Back then, the Sheikah were a highly advanced civilization, and judging from Koshia's abilities, excelled in combat. While it's not stated in-game, I wouldn't be surprised if they participated in the fight against Calamity Ganon 10,000 years ago. When the tribe was banished, most of them agreed to abandon their technology and live peaceful lives within Kakariko Village. With less of an emphasis on combat, there was no need for mighty bananas. On the other hand, the Yiga were composed of those who refused to abandon their ways. Eventually, the love for mighty bananas became a trait exclusive to the Yiga. There's a good chance the Sheikah parted with their fondness of the fruit to stay as far from the Yiga as possible, in an attempt to not look threatening. Something else worth mentioning is how the mighty bananas are most commonly found within Theron, a region closely associated to that of the Zonai. This leads into the possibility of this tribe being a form of prehistoric Sheikah, and it could explain the blocky design of the 3 labyrinths, but that's a topic for another day. This abandonment of technology makes sense when you take a close look at the combat of present-day Sheikah. Monk Maz Koshia gave us a glimpse at what this tribe was like 10,000 years ago, before their exile. Fast forward to the present day, and you never actually see modern-day Sheikah use the abilities of Koshia. Instead, they rely on normal weapons like the Eightfold Blade and Eightfold Long Blade, The former is wielded by Dorian when he confronts the Yiga Blade Master, as well as one of the unnamed warriors who finds Link and Zelda in Memory 17. With the passage of time, the combat arts were forgotten and magic became a thing of the past. As a matter of fact, you could argue that the Yiga as a culture are much more closely associated to the ancient Sheikah than the ones from Kakariko Village. They continue to use magic such as teleportation and attacks closely resembling the champion's Ballad boss. On the topic of the Yiga, I believe that Koga also might be a descendant of Maz Koshia. We already discussed the similarity where both warriors summon metallic balls. A possible argument is that there is nothing which proves that other Yiga can't use this attack, but we do have some quotes to base our information off of. Koga describes the attack as a secret technique taught by my father's mother's father. The compendium entry states that, despite napping and loafing around, his mastery of the esoteric arts has earned him a deep respect. And the description of Monk Maz Koshia describes his duel with Link as a challenge of ancient techniques. Koga is clearly more powerful than other members of the Yiga, and therefore would know more moves. While we don't know how Koshia compares in abilities to other monks, it's safe to say that his supervision over the trials of the Hero of the Wild, and possibly the champions, makes him a high-ranking Sheikah. He was from a time where the Sheikah had close relations with the royal family, and they may have participated in the fight 10,000 years ago. It's kind of a scary thought when you think about it, because it would show just how much of a fight Calamity Ganon had put up. With all that said, what about the connections to the Sheikah technology and runes of the Slate? Maz Koshia is seen using not only a laser attack similar to the Guardians, but also summons lightning similar to Thunderblight Ganon. Well, it's possible that the Sheikah Slate's abilities originated from Sheikah magic, and was created so its power could be wielded by anyone. In fact, this is a recurring theme in Zelda games. The best example is the Lens of Truth. In Ocarina of Time, Shikashi tells us of a man who had an eye that could see the truth. He goes on to state that normally you'd have to train your mind's eye strenuously to do so, but the man had a different way of doing things. This is a reference to the Lens of Truth, an item granting non-Sheikah the power of the Sheikah. So we've gone over the mystery surrounding Maz Koshia and his connections to the Yiga and present-day Sheikah. But what about the champion's ballad itself? I've already discussed this briefly in a previous video, so I'll make it quick. There's two different trials in this DLC, those exclusive to Link and the ones done by both the hero and champions. For Link exclusively, there was the One-Hit Obliterator Challenge, Illusory Realms, and 5th Divine Beast. Some of the game's dialogue heavily implies that all 3 riddles of each Divine Beast had to be completed by the champions, but the shrines themselves appear to be exclusive to the hero. It might explain the engravings of the One-Hit Obliterator found on the exterior of all DLC shrines, a weapon which is only used by Link. It's possible that the One-Hit Obliterator works in a similar fashion to the Master Sword. Link is required to have at least 13 hearts to wield the blade, but in the other weapon's case, the hero needed parts of all the champion spirits to be considered worthy enough. Only one who has mastered all divine beasts has the right to wield such a powerful weapon. The very design of the One-Hit Obliterator suggests this, as the top of each prawn is stylized with the heads of Meadow, Ruta, Naburus, and Rudania. Now, things get interesting when it comes to the Illusory Realms. We're told these locations were created from the depths of Link's memories. How the Blights fought there are a product of the fear that dwells within. And this is kind of strange. There's not really a reason for the hero to fear these bosses, so what's going on here? In the cutscene where Daruk's spirit is freed from Fireblight, he says the following line.
From this moment forth, the power of protection from the depths of my soul now lives inside you.
This means that when Link obtains a champion's ability, he's receiving a part of their soul. Going back to the battles within the Illusory Realms, out of all the people who would fear the Blights the most, it would be those slain by said bosses. Link isn't fighting his own fears, he's fighting the champion's fears within himself, as they added parts of their spirit, their abilities, to his own. And this explains why each battle has you equipped with the champion's weapons, so that Link can fight against the Blights, but this time, they'll be the ones slain. Such is a feat which can only be accomplished by the hero of legend. But there is one problem with this. For some reason, the fight against Windblight doesn't equip the player with the Great Eagle Bow, which happens to be Revali's champion weapon. I do not know why this is the case, since Age of Calamity confirms he had it in the fight against Windblight. But that is something I need to be transparent about, as it means this theory isn't flawless. Why it's not included in the battle, I have no idea. I'll end this video with one final thought. The Great Plateau has been a topic previously talked about on the channel. It was one of my first videos where we went over the possibility of it being swapped with the Lost Woods partway through development. It's a theory that now I strongly disagree with. But in regards to why this landmass was elevated off of the ground, I believe it's possible that it was done to conceal the fifth divine beast at the time of the Sheikah's banishment. While the others are free to move around, this one remains stationary, so perhaps the surrounding land was elevated to hide it. It's just a random thought. Of course, there's not much to support this idea. With all that said, thank you again for watching yet another Breath of the Wild theory. It's about time I made a video talking about Monk Maz Koshia, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did making it. I'll have the usual links to Twitter and Patreon down below, as well as a link to Zeltic's video and another one made by McIntyre, which also covers the topic of Maz Koshia. I don't do this often, but thank you for your support. Like, seriously. I've now been doing YouTube full-time for well over a year, and I still can't believe it. I know it's a job that many would kill to have, and that's one of the reasons I try my hardest to deliver at least decent content. And thank you to all of my patrons. I just want to clarify that there's no benefit from becoming one, aside from occasionally being informed with what upcoming videos will be about. That's because I only want people to become patrons if they want to support the channel. It's one of the reasons why there's only a single tier of $1 a month. So thank you for your support, I do appreciate it. And I will see you all next time.